Hello, everyone. This is an update in 2023, our first one in January here. And just want to go through a number of things. And we're also looking for a lot of feedback. So if you're looking at this live, or if you look at it later, love to have you send any ideas or questions you have to pcarlson@missionE4.com, or you can send it to info@missionE4.com. So a couple of the updates are from a construction standpoint. We just sent funds to Haiti. Thank you for everyone for giving towards these. And the two big projects we're doing right now is we're building out a lab. We're using some buildings that we have already in Cassange with Crystal's Restaurant, etc. And we're building up a whole lab facility so that we don't have to send out things to labs that may or may not be open. There's also an expense with that. And we'll be able to have our own lab technician, our own lab work, and be able to know right on site, right next to the clinic, any kind of results we need. So we're very excited about that. I know the construction guys have put together all of the materials that they need, and they've got the plans all set. And so it's just a matter now of this month actually building out the lab and the partitions that we'll use to be able to have our own lab. And we also just recently got a shipment of medicine that's extremely difficult to get into Haiti, but we've managed to find a way to get a whole shipment into our clinic. So we've resupplied that, which is critical really any time in Haiti, but especially with the cholera outbreak that we had. We just want to make sure that they've got everything that they need. And so just a lot of positive things going on, and we should be able to complete that this month yet. And so by next month, we'll be hiring a lab technician and getting some additional help and have that lab all set up. The second thing that we're working on is the high school. I think maybe those of you that have been looking at the newsletter, looking at these casts, have noticed that we bought some land. We're pretty excited about getting that, pretty surprised that it was available, and it's right next to the elementary school. Now what we've done is we've got the plans drawn up for that, and we've part of our shipment of funds transferred over was for the beginning of that high school, getting the base floor down, starting to get the pillars built up that'll sustain the first floor and second floor. So the materials are being purchased in a couple of days for that, and we'll be getting updates every month on the progress of that high school. So stay tuned to our podcast and to our newsletter to kind of see the journey of that construction and to see as that's being completed. That's a huge upgrade for us as far as the size of the high school, as far as the facilities, so that it's going to be much more aerated and just ability for the kids to learn better, a little bit higher ground, so we're not worried about all the water. And then we're going to use the existing high school, ultimately going to turn that into more of a sustainable facility for agriculture and livestock. So we're going to gain a new high school, and we'll be showing how that gets built out throughout the spring, summer, and into the fall. And then we'll also be giving you updates on how we're then going to turn the existing high school into sustainable that's right across the street. So we have a much better chance of security and workers to be able to go work on that. And so then the kids will be able to see that the food that they need is already attainable. It's already being grown and ready for them. And so that's a comforting thing for children in a place like Haiti that's short on food, but it's also a great way to provide more jobs. It's a great way to just give us everything that we need to be more sustainable. The other updates I want to have is if you've been on a mission trip with Mission E4, if you've been on one trip, some people have been on 10, I think the most I've heard is 25. And if you've been on a trip, I bet you've got pictures and you have stories. Please send those into Mission E4. We want to capture those stories. A lot of times they're sitting in someone's head. Maybe they've forgotten about it. You go back through the pictures you have. You may say, oh, I remember this story, or I remember this time and how you felt about that. So take time to enjoy that. Take time to read, walk through those pictures. Take time to think about those stories. Then actually write them down and capture them. They don't need to be perfect. Don't worry about your grammar or spelling or the length. It can be really short, just a few sentences, could be a few paragraphs. But we would love to get those stories captured so that we can not only use them for publishing. If that's okay with you, you can say don't publish if you don't want, Or we'll also want to store these up. So now we've got more of an archive of the things that have happened, the stories, the experiences that people have had. We don't want to lose those. So again, if you've got any pictures or any stories that you think would be helpful, we'd love to see them. And over time, if you've got them, you might say, well, mine are really old. They're from 15 years ago. Well, that's perfect, because a lot of the pictures may have as more recent, and then we can see some of the changes that happen over time. So anytime that you've got pictures, any time sequence, we'd love to have that. Give us any information around that picture, and you can just email that to Mission E4. Or if you've got stories, I'm sure if you've been on any trip, there's at least 1, 2, 5, 10 stories that you have. Please capture those and send those in. We've got a number of those already, and thanks to Tiffany, who sent one in for last month, and we put that in the newsletter. So again, anything you have that are memories, we'd love to get those captured because they're important and we wouldn't want to lose those. The other thing you might have seen, go out to our website if you have not, or on our newsletter. You'll see that we have a new logo. We've got some new, colors that match up with the Haitian flag. So go to missione4.org and just see some of the new logo. Make sure you get the newsletter. You should either be getting a paper copy, or if you've opted for the e-newsletter that's coming out this week. And just give us a sense of what you think. We're trying to create more sections so that we're bringing more Haiti to everybody, and there's something for everybody. You might be interested in, some different facts or different stories, or you might be interested in hearing from Pastor Bazile in Kassan's Corner. So go take a look at that. We welcome all feedback. There may be some things you really love about. There may be some things that you think could be even better, and we would love to hear any of that feedback. So again, go take a look at missione4.org. You'll see a logo up at the top. You'll see some of the logo at the very bottom with a dark black background. And just take a look at that and tell us what you think. Tell us what you think about the newsletter layout and format. We're always open to changing and improving and making things better. And so we hope you like what you see. And we certainly want to continue making that just a very interesting newsletter. A lot of times you get newsletters. I know you do the same thing. You don't really read through them. You look at a sentence or two and you toss them. We're hoping that this would be much more engaging, because your sponsorship and donorship is not only important to us as far as the funds, but we also want to minister to everybody that receives them. We want to get ministered back. And so it's really much more of an engaging connection that we're looking for with our newsletters, not just some information that you may or may not read through. We want to make sure that it is really just a valuable use of your time and that it ministers in both directions. The other thing that I want to talk about is we mentioned that we're going to try and connect up some sponsors to children. It's difficult to do, but we did one that was really fun. We matched up the original sponsor for Costello. Those that you might know about her, she was really running a restaurant for us. And now we're using that as kind of a lab, but it also still has the restaurant function. And we were able to connect her up with her sponsor that sponsored her right from, the very beginning, never knowing, what would happen with that sponsorship. Was it just a meal and some education, or did it end up being really a career and employment long-term? And Costello will remain with us, working with some of the clinic. She's got great skills within, working with people and some of the administrative side, some of the financial. And so she's going to continue working on that side of it. But it's just very encouraging to see the original sponsor and Costello get together via Zoom, kind of get to, catch up on what's going on, and just kind of really reaffirm that that sponsor had no idea really what was going to happen when they sponsored. They just in faith said, I'm going to give towards this little girl and see what happens to that. And that's really our hope, is that a generational change will happen, so the child will go through education. They'll see that there are jobs and opportunities, and that they've got things that they can look forward to. They've got skill sets and they've got gifts that God gave them. And then ultimately, as they get into high school, they start thinking about, well, what can I do? What is it that I was really wired to do? What was it just in my passion and my heart to do? And I can see someone else that followed that path and found jobs, found employment, found ways to just kind of serve God, and then they can see it as a role model for them. So that was a very exciting connection that we made with that sponsor and child. Can't promise that we can do that for everybody, but if that's something that, you know, is of interest, you can certainly let us know, and we'll see if we can't set up some more of those periodically, just to kind of do the connections. The other thing I was going to mention is kind of a housekeeping, that many employers have a matching, and if they don't, you can actually go in and say, I want to add a nonprofit to the matching program that you have. I know there's several that allow you just to do a write-in, and maybe just check on that. So if you're giving and you say, you know, I wonder if my employer will match that, go check that out. Check with your employer to see how do they handle their own nonprofit giving. Is there a way that you can give money and that they'll match? We just found one that gave, and they checked with their employer, and there's a 3 times match. So then they asked for their check back, and then they went and decided to go through their employer and do all that matching. So it's a great win for us, of course, and it's also a great way to, if we're not on your employer's list of potential giving candidates, then you can get on that list, and there may be other people that would like to give as well. So just check on that. If you have, if you're working for an employer, just see what they have for giving matching capabilities, and see if there's a way that you can get Mission E4 on that list. So with that, I'm going to conclude this January update. Subsequent updates that we're going to have, we'll have more interview style. We'll try and get some folks from Haiti. We'll get some other folks from the US, and probably take a little bit more time in kind of a back and forth, like Taryn and I did in the previous months. But I did want to kick off January in 2023 with some of these construction updates. A plug to go take a look at our website, see what you think of the new logo, and go to the blog. There's a blog that explains a little bit more about what's behind it. And then just an encouragement to check with your employers, see if there's any kind of matching, and write those letters and pictures. We'd love to see a flood of pictures and stories that you have from Haiti, so we can capture that, so other people can enjoy the experiences that you've had. So please send those in, and we'll be looking for that and give you an update on the progress of that next time as well. Thank you, and everyone have a great new year.